In this training, you'll learn why working really hard to get really good is a dead end, how misguided the whole conversation around backup plans is, when you as a performing artist should start your financial planning, and what you should be doing instead of that day job. Hello, my friends. Today we're going to be talking about the biggest mistake you're making when it comes to your income as a performing artist. So we're talking about dancers, actors, singers, musicians, etc. And I'm Fiona Flyte. In case you didn't know, I'm your business coach for performing artists and your prosperity priestess, helping performing artists to ditch the starving artist trap so you can actually become profitable instead. So this training is right in line with what I am most obsessed and passionate about, which is helping performing artists to avoid all of the mistakes that I made as a younger singer, actor. I'm a classically trained singer, did a lot of musical theater, still do musical theater and opera, and also now on camera, TV and film. And I just want you to avoid these mistakes that will help you be in so much better of a position later in your life than I was because of these mistakes, and this one mistake particularly. So in this training, you'll learn why working really hard to get really good is a dead end, how misguided the whole conversation around backup plans is, when you as a performing artist should start your financial planning, and what you should be doing instead of that day job. How does that sound? Let me know in the comments. All right, so why working really hard to get really good is a dead end? And let me tell you, that was basically my plan. But the truth is that getting really good is not a business plan, but that was my plan. It was like, how good can I get? And all that was really about was imposter syndrome and perfectionism and teachers and coaches constantly making me feel like I could get better and I had to be at a certain level before I did any particular next step. Now, here's the thing. Am I saying that you shouldn't continue to work on your craft? Absolutely. I've been in this for 3 decades, I think, and I'm still perfecting my craft. Of course, there's that word perfecting. I'm still working on my craft. I'm still developing myself as an artist. That never, ever stops. But the question is, do you need to be waiting until you get to some arbitrary good enough in order to actually start having a career and take opportunities that come your way, or more than that, make opportunities for yourself? So what I see so many performing artists do, and what I did in the past, was focus in on just getting better and better and better, waiting until somebody else would discover me and or give me permission to have the career I want, make money from my performing. And it just was a trap and a dead end. So yes, invest in your craft, but it's more than that. So what else did I hear, when I was coming up? It was so much about, invest in your craft, get better and better, go to lots of auditions, pay your dues. I had a singing teacher who was a voice coach. He was actually a celebrity voice coach, and I studied with him for years. I had already mastered singing to a high level. I had been teaching singing for years and years, but he had this phrase that you had to clean up after the elephants. What does that even mean? I mean, basically, like, be the person following the elephant and cleaning it up at the circus. And then, we could get into the whole elephants at circuses, and that's not a good thing anyway. Elephants should be out in the wild, and it doesn't need to be anyone cleaning up after the elephant out in the wild. My point is, this is basically akin to this whole idea of paying your dues. Who are you paying them to? Like, who benefits from you paying your dues? I'm saying, yes, develop your craft, invest in your early training, and get experience and exposure in the beginning. But there comes a point when it's no longer about paying your dues. And that point can come so much earlier than many of you realize, and definitely a lot earlier than I realized. And the problem was this idea that I had to get good enough, again, for somebody else to recognize my talent or my deserving of having the career that I wanted, instead of stepping into my own power and claiming it for myself. And so the problem with this waiting until you're good enough is that it's not a sure thing. And it takes way too long, and there's no guarantee, because really there's never an end. As I was saying at the beginning of this training, there's never an end. You're always going to be getting better and better and better. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments, and I will absolutely go through the comments at the end of what I want to share with you today. And also follow me over to the private Facebook group, and we can talk there. And I come back and I look at your comments later. So definitely leave comments and I will reply when I see them. Okay, so back to why just working really hard to get really good is a dead end. You don't have time because you're struggling to pay the bills, right? So you're at your day job, or you're at your low-paying gigs, or your low-paying teaching studio gig, whatever your day job is. And how much time is left over even to be working on your craft when you're pulled so thin, right? Or you are getting better and better, and you have jobs, typically lower paying or not sustainable ones, or you have to go from one to the next contract, and you're still struggling to do everything, to meet your own obligations, to pay bills, etc. And like I said, you're dependent on other people. You can't plan for your future, which we're going to talk about. And so let's now tangent into this misguided conversation around backup plans, because I think that this is part of the trap that people end up making, performing artists end up making, that leads to this mistake. And it's having been told that if you have a backup plan, quote unquote, then you won't make it in your chosen art form, whether you're an actor, singer, dancer, musician, etc., whatever kind of artist you are, that if you have a backup plan, then somehow you're not going to be committed enough. And so instead of having some kind of career, you have a day job, and you are in a tenuous position, making typically not very much money, and working as you can make relatively good money, yes, bartending, waitressing, with tips and all the rest, but still, it's not really what you want to be doing, right? And the problem is that people talk about this backup plan like it is a foregone conclusion that it's a bad idea, and that it has to do with something you don't want to be doing, and that it has nothing to do with your art. And so we talk about backup plans like, oh, I either am going to make it as a rock musician, or I'll become a lawyer because I went to law school, or I'm going to end up as an accountant. Well, that's fine if you want to be an accountant or a lawyer, but I'm saying, having a backup plan that's something you don't want to do makes no sense. But that doesn't mean that you should abandon the idea of building something financially for yourself that is more secure than a day job. Does that make sense? Like, beyond more secure, you're actually passionately excited about, like I am, about helping you with your businesses, right? I'm still a performing artist, and for a long time I was a voice coach, and that was okay, but that wasn't what I was really passionate about either, although you may be. What I'm really passionate about is mindset, helping starving artists eliminate their imposter syndrome, and really helping you to become profitable. I'm passionate about that, and I'm excited to build a business that is sustainable, teaching that while simultaneously building my career as a performing artist, because that is going on at the same time, and that's totally doable. So let's talk about when you as a performing artist should start your financial planning, because this is the same thing, right? What happens to so many of you, and had happened to me, is that we're really poor in our 20s and 30s. And this is the prime years for earning and starting to have real retirement portfolios because of that compound interest. If you don't know what compound interest is, look it up, Google it. But basically it is, you invest at a certain time early, like in your 20s in stocks, for example, and then over time that compounds and you make a whole lot more money if you are investing small amounts in the beginning rather than waiting until later. I'm not explaining this great because I'm not an accountant or a et cetera. I'm not a specialist in this exact area, but compound interest, just look it up. It's really, really important. So you want to be investing and building your financial future early. But instead, we as starving artists with a whole lot of imposter syndrome, we're working day jobs, we're struggling to pay the bills, we're putting our all, going all into our performing, and we're not creating a solvent future for ourselves financially. And so if you are in your 20s or 30s, shift your mindset now. If you are older than that, okay, it's, you're going to catch up. You're going to do the best you can. Start investing now and really take to heart this idea about, well, and this is one of the reasons why so many people in their later years or middle age are no longer performing, right? Because it's like, I'm done. I'm done being a starving artist. I want to have a comfortable lifestyle and not be so worried about paying my bills. And so what I'm saying that you should be doing instead of that day job is to become profitable first, so that actually when you're younger, you can start building that retirement portfolio. You can start benefiting from compound interest. And how, of course, that's the question. How do you do that? So, okay, great. So instead of that day job that, you're not really loving, that is just a way to pay the bills and it barely does, and it takes your mind away from your performing and it's just frustrating, I really encourage you to build a business that is focused and founded on your passion, like I am doing. Like if you are already, let's say you're a singer, you're teaching voice, or you're a guitar player and you're teaching guitar, then hopefully that is also, you feel passionate about the teaching too. And it's connected, right? But people get very small in their thinking about what they could actually be teaching or coaching. And I help people to zone in on what they really love. So for example, instead of teaching guitar or teaching voice, maybe you actually want to teach songwriting. Does that make sense? Or maybe instead of teaching acting, you really love the performance practice or audition technique. Does that make sense? Let me know in the comments. But on top of this, so that's great. So that, teaching or coaching or passion is a great way to build a foundation for a business that's sustainable, that can help you with that compound interest eventually and the retirement portfolio. But there are other ways to diversify your income, which I talk about in today's YouTube video. So after you watch this live, check out today's YouTube video. I'll drop a link in the comments so you can, because in that video, I'm sharing 5 different ways that you can diversify your income that are both active and passive. So do you understand the difference between an active income where something like performing live, teaching, coaching versus passive income? So passive income is like my course, The Profitable Performer Revolution. It's kind of a mixture of active and passive because I am in there coaching, but it's not the same kind of one-for-one, hour-to-hour kind of situation. So that's 2 examples, but I get into those 2 examples and then 3 more to help you really start thinking outside the box in terms of how you can develop your income beyond that day job and beyond that like misguided notion that you just have to get good enough until you're discovered and then everything will work out for you. Because trust me, that happens to like some infinitesimal percentage of the population, which does not mean that you are not incredible. That's what we make it mean. We make it mean that there's something wrong with us if we haven't been given those opportunities to really, have our breakout moment. But that's not what it means. We make it mean that, but it's not what it means. So if you really start to think about your future now, instead of waiting until you just finally realize that what you're doing is not working, which is what happened to me. I was performing in a 2,000 seat theater, 2,000 seat theater, totally sold out. And I was making minimum wage. It was totally wrong. It was just wrong. And at that moment, I realized that it wasn't me that was wrong. It was the situation that was wrong. So I just really, really encourage you to focus on big picture and simultaneously to working on yourself as a performer to also be developing a really solid business. And that solid business is going to be a connected, integrally connected thing to your performing or to your whatever, if you're already a voice coach or any kind of teacher or coach of your art form. And speaking of that, don't think of that income as second class. I used to do that too. Oh my gosh, I made so many mistakes, and I want you not to have to make those mistakes. Income is income, right? Maybe if you're teaching something that you're not truly passionate about, then you have to just get zoned into what you love, and then it will stop feeling like that second class income, okay? Because income is income, and we want to build your financial foundation now so that down the road, you will have so much more control over your life. You'll have so many more options for what kind of projects you decide to take and not take. You'll be able to do the kinds of things you want. You'll have the resources you need to create your own projects. So that's what I'm most passionate about, is really helping you to feel empowered and to take empowered action towards achieving what it is that you really, the kind of life that you really want for yourself, instead of thinking that you have to wait for somebody else to tell you you can do what you want. I'm saying right now, make a decision that yes, you get to do what you really want with your life. And if that has anything to do with your art form, then make your life be about that art form, but without giving up your financial future or your sustainable living, without giving up the comfortable lifestyle that you also really deserve. Okay, go ahead and watch today's YouTube video, linked in the comments, all about diversifying your income. And if you'd like to see the 9 steps that I took to go from starving artist to profitable performer, you can also download the free roadmap that is in the link that's in the comments. And then lastly, if you're not already part of my Facebook community, come on over and join. I think that link is at the top. All right, let me just check if there's any comments I need to reply to. Not yet. So I just send you so much love for you becoming a profitable performer. All right. Mwah. You have a voice, you deserve to be heard, and the world deserves to hear you. Okay?